Hello, this is the Stories Beside channel. I release videos every day for you. Subscribe and click the bell. It was a clear, sunny day. Kelly was running home from her shift, and when she saw an ice cream stand, she couldn't help herself. She bought herself a large vanilla cone, sat down on a bench in the park, and savored the cool treat. Not far away in the sandbox played kids. Two twin boys fought desperately, taking each other's car. Kelly grinned bitterly as she watched the antics, and the image of her own childhood immediately appeared before her eyes. "Kelly, give me the doll. I'm going to take it anyway, because I'm older than you, of course. And you." Cindy's older sister yelled and pulled Kelly's braids. She fiercely fought back and cried, holding her Barbie doll like it was her most precious treasure for nothing. "My father brought her back from a business trip for my birthday. Get off. I'll tell him everything. He'll give you the first number." It was in that vein, and in the fights with her older sister, that Kelly spent her entire childhood. Cindy was only 2 years older, but somehow her mother always liked her better. But Daddy adored Kelly. Her sister grew up bullying and trying to hurt the younger sister, easily took away her candy. All the more so because the girls were very similar in appearance and height, both tall with long blonde braids. Kelly was kinder and weaker than her sister and was almost always inferior to her in everything. But with that Barbie doll, she showed unprecedented tenacity and fought desperately with Cindy, not wanting to give her daddy's gift. The thing is that the doll was not a simple and speaking when you click on the back of a doll sang some Chinese or Japanese wonderful song. And although the meaning of it, Kelly was incomprehensible, but the motive was simply fascinating. Dad had purposely brought it from a business trip abroad as a gift to his daughter. Kelly's joy was boundless. That's why the girl never parted with it, even dragged her to school in a briefcase and slept with her in their family. Her father was the breadwinner and provider. He was a sailor and went on foreign trips for long months. Then he brought back a lot of presents for his daughters, his wife, and a very decent salary for those days. So my mother never worked, taking care of the house and children. Wendy loved that life. She loved her eldest daughter Cindy and comforted herself with the thought that she would soon grow up and go to kindergarten, and she would have lots of free time. But the woman did not plan for a second child and did not want to tie her hands again. It all happened by chance, when Robert returned from another flight. But her husband insisted on having a baby. He had dreamed so much of a son, but when it was a girl again, he wasn't the least bit upset. And he loved Kelly with a special, reverent love, because Daddy was away a lot and was never home. Only visits he didn't have to. It wasn't easy. Cindy was just unbearable at times. I was a poor man and called names, and there was no one to complain to. Mom was always at the side of my older sister. The girls were different in character too. Cindy was much like her mother, liked to dress up, had a sharp tongue, and believed that money was everything in life. She neither liked nor wanted to study. She considered her sister a crammer. She was always reading. Kelly, on the contrary, was quiet, read a lot, and liked to dream. When the youngest was 13 years old, the irreparable happened in their family. A terrible tragedy. The fishing boat on which her father worked was caught in a storm and sank. Dad was gone. There were tears, sadness, and grief. Kelly cried all the tears, and her baby mind just refused to accept the fact that Daddy was gone. She kept thinking that today the door would open, and a bullet would shout joyfully from the doorway, "Here I am. Missed my girls." And she would hug him so tightly and hear his heart pounding. But the days and months passed, and Daddy was still gone. From that moment on, their family was gone. Everything began to fall apart before my eyes like a house of cards. Mom first tried to find a job, but she had no experience either, and she was not used to hard work. Women were angry at the whole world. Money was not enough for anything. Often began to snap at her daughters, considering them now her burden. Kelly was especially bad for some reason. Mom exploited her mercilessly. The girl did almost all the housework. Cindy was trickier. She was a clever dodger who could get away with doing chores and going out with teenagers and staying out late. Mom, too, decided to make a life for herself and soon brought that nasty fat Uncle David into the house. The woman did not even ask her daughters whether they wanted to live with them or not. She simply and bluntly told Cindy, "Kelly, meet David. May I have Uncle David? He's going to live with us now. Somebody's got to raise him and feed him after all." Kelly didn't like that turkey at first sight. He gave her and her sister an unkind look and muttered something like hello. The rest was a nightmare. My stepfather had a good job and made good money. But at home, he was a real tyrant. All the housemates had to serve him and please him, especially when he was drunk. And that happened quite often after work. No one had a life then. It was like being in the army. "Wendy, why isn't Kelly's soup hot enough? The grades are going to be checked now. Cindy, make me a cup of tea and get a move on. I don't feed and sing to you all for nothing, do I?" Mother, in spite of her stepfather's constant nagging and mocking, convinced him to do anything for money. Cindy adjusted quickly, too. She smiled sweetly at the jerk, winked slyly, and ingratiated herself with him in every way. Kelly, on the other hand, didn't know how and didn't want to. Her whole being rebelled and rejected this holy soldier. The girl looked at him sideways and tried to keep out of his sight. And the stepfather replaced all his discontent and bad temper with her. Their dislike was mutual. Life in the family was becoming more and more unbearable with each passing day. The girl often cried, twitched at every rustle, and became withdrawn. She tried to stay in school longer and not go home, so as not to hear the jabs and scolding in her address. But this did not save her either. Her stepfather waited for her on purpose, humming more and more. And as soon as Kelly came home, it was the same thing. "Where have you been for the past 6 hours? And who's going to help your mother? The dishes are not washed. In the room cleaned and brought the diary here. We'll check for what beautiful eyes gives you A's. What an excellent student she is." He gave his stepdaughter a smack in the face and went back to his bedroom satisfied. Her mother pretended not to hear anything, and her sister at the door chuckled venomously. She didn't get that kind of affection, though she often went out late and even tried smoking. And a weeping Kelly went to wash the dishes for everyone. Her sister was hanging around laughing and trying to teach her little sister about life. "You are a fool, Kelly, for you are looking at him like a little wolf. It's obvious that you despise him, and that only makes him madder. Just smile. Tell him his shirt is nice today, and it looks good on him or something. Like he's like a father to us, or even better, be more cunning. I called him Daddy yesterday. He even gave me some pocket money. Otherwise, you're just gonna keep walking around with a bat." Kelly was outraged. What kind of father is he to me? If our daddy were alive, that bastard wouldn't even be here. I'll never call him Daddy. You should know that. He doesn't like to push us around. He just makes fun of us. Why did Mama bring him here? Why does she put up with all this and not say anything? Doesn't she care about us at all? Cindy became very protective of her mother. "How much do you understand? He provides for us, feeds us, and clothes us. Dad's dead, isn't he? And where does my mother get the money? She can't really go out to mop floors. And money solves everything now. And you have to bear it. Well, at least you had some. You can't think of anything in life." One day, Kevin's gym teacher was surprised to see Kelly pushing her abs on the mats in the gymnasium. When the school was almost empty, he quietly approached her and asked, "Kelly, why aren't you going home? It's late. Or are you trying to break all the sports records? Well, that's commendable. But look, work out. It's all in moderation." The girl was all red with sweat running down her temples. She just mumbled without looking away, "I don't want to go home. I hate everybody." And she continued rocking her abs, counting out loud. 53, 54. Experienced teacher. Understood the case badly. The child is on edge. He crouched down next to me on the mat and told Kelly as gently as possible, "Stop, listen. Whatever happens, I know everything can be fixed. Everything can be changed. Can you trust me? Tell me what's wrong. I can see you're not well. Someone has hurt you badly. A conflict with your classmates, or problems at home. Maybe you got into a bad company. But that doesn't sound like you, does it?" The girl looked into the teacher's eyes and suddenly burst into tears and started screaming like this and started banging her fist on the mat. "My stepdad hates me. He is always picking on me and yelling and giving me slaps. And my mother and sister laugh and laugh. I hate them all, and I don't want to go home. And it's the same thing every day. All I hear is that I'm trash." Kevin gave Kelly a fatherly hug and began to comfort her. "God, you silly girl. What are you crying about? You've got graduation coming up if you can't live at home. So why don't you give a damn about everybody else? Go to New York, get a place to live, get a job. You're a serious girl, you won't get lost. Let them all live as they want. God is their judge." Kelly suddenly stopped crying and said quietly, "Thank you, Kevin, for the advice. I hadn't really thought of that. But where am I going to get the money to live on? My mother wouldn't give me a penny in New York. My stepdad won't give me a dime." The teacher thought about it. Then he said, "Don't worry, I'll think of something. I have an aunt who lives there. She is an old pensioner, very kind. I'll call her and make arrangements. You'll stay there for a couple of months. I'll tell her you're a distant relative of my wife. And then you'll get a job and get a room. Understand, Kelly, you can't stand to be bullied and have your feet rubbed in it. So change your life. And don't be afraid of anything. And don't think bad thoughts out of your head. I got it. Walk on home." Kelly glowed and began to thank her favorite teacher. "Thank you, Kevin. You are the best teacher," waved her hand and sighed heavily, thinking to herself, "Poor girl. What a clever girl, an excellent student. What can you scold her for? I do not understand these poor parents. I wish I had children. God never gave them children. That's why the teacher tried to always treat his students like family. He got into their problems, tried to help them. And then, a month later, the graduation died down. And the very next day, Kelly began to pack for the road. There was a deafening scandal at home. My mother was screaming and yelling all over the house. Where are you going? I don't understand it. Can you even hear me? Hey, who am I talking to here? Answer me right now. Kelly answered quietly inside, shrinking. I'm going to New York for good. I'm going to find a new life there. I'll start looking. In 2 hours, Wendy looked at her daughter. What are you, stupid? What money are you going to use to get to New York? With my money. Just so you know, I ain't giving you a dime for your dope. You've got it in your head to run away from home too. David, tell her. Look what she's doing. But what was the other opinion? His younger stepdaughter had always pissed him off and was only glad to himself that he would have one less mouth to feed, so he answered calmly, let her go wherever she wants. It is her right. 18 already, there is since such a brave. I'll even give money for the road. She is of no use anyway. All she does is whine and snivel. Cindy just giggled. You're a fool, Kelly, to think there's a prince on a white horse waiting for you. But you'd better stay home and cry. You'll never see your clothes again. But Kelly just stubbornly shoved her favorite Barbie doll into the suitcase with a heavy heart, hugged her sister and mother goodbye, sat down on the road, and went to the station alone. Her relatives did not rush to see her off, but only twirled at her temple and slammed the door to a new frightening and unknown life. Kelly was seen off by Kevin. He had, as promised, made arrangements with his aunt and given the girl an address and phone number. He gave her his too, just in case. He also slipped some money and a bag of pies to all of Kelly. Take a snack on the way to the bakery, and it's still hot. You'll do fine. Don't doubt it. And your in-laws are gonna be biting their hands off. You'll see. The girl hugged her beloved teacher, once again thanked him, and got into the carriage. She felt uneasy at heart, how everything would pan out, what awaited her. But she was comforted by the thought that, at least, she had a place to live. At first, Kelly knew one thing for sure: she would never go home. After her daddy died, life became unbearable. Even Cindy had changed beyond recognition. At least for the decency to be upset that her own sister was going away forever. It was as if they were saying goodbye to their own daughter. Maria welcomed Kelly cordially, flailing about all day getting ready, even though she was already a grandmother of years. But the request of her favorite nephew could not help but fulfill. If he asked to shelter a good man, it means we have to help. Anything can happen in life. Her apartment was small, one room, but cozy pensioner, fed the girl from the road, bedding for a cot, and they began to talk, quickly found a common language and became friends. Maria gave new housing and valuable advice in the trade. Daughter, don't pry. You're young, still inexperienced, will hang everything on you. And don't trust any modeling agencies. They like pretty young girls. It's debauchery. It's all a scam. Take our advice. Go to a cafe. You'll be fed and you won't lose money. After 2 weeks, Kelly got a job as a waitress in a cafe. The girl was happy and took the job with great zeal. She quickly mastered her new profession, and things went well. And 6 months later, Kelly met her first love. Max was a builder, and he was sent to do some repairs in the cafe. That's how they met. The guy himself came from a dysfunctional family. He lived in a small room in the suburbs. He fell in love with Kelly at first sight. The tall, slender beauty with long blonde braids captivated his heart. And most importantly, she was not as self-serving as the other girls. For Kelly, money wasn't what mattered. What was important to her was a sincere, kind attitude, respect, real feelings. Young people started dating, and soon Kelly moved in with Max, a rented room. It was uncomfortable to live and further embarrassed the old lady. Their relationship was stormy. They fought and made up. Max was insanely jealous of Kelly to visitors, running to meet her from the shift, seeing her home. But still they loved each other madly and dreamed of a wedding, albeit a modest one. Money was tight. That is why Max got a job as a skyscraper. It paid a lot more. Even though it was a very risky job, Max liked risk. It was as if he was always walking on the edge. Kelly, on the other hand, was very worried about her lover, and they often quarreled about it. Maxwell, it's very dangerous. Do you have a reliable insurance? What is the height? I would have died of fear. Well, their money. Go find something calmer. But the groom heatedly parried, honey, I'm trying for us, so we'll save money for the wedding. We're having a party. Maybe we can get an apartment on credit. And then the kids will come. I'm so sick of this 1 meter by 1 meter room. Drunken neighbors. I can't stand it. But things didn't go according to plan, but more of a tumbleweed. Within a month, Kelly realized she was pregnant. The girl decided to double-check everything and bought a test, and then in a stupor for a long time looked at the bright 2 stripes that appeared on it. She was overcome with mixed feelings. For one thing, she's only 18. She's still too young. No place of her own, not yet on her own feet. But on the other hand, it is her and Max's baby, and a new life is beginning inside her. Just the thought of it made her want to smile all the time. There was also the worry of how her fiancé would feel about the news too. They were, of course, planning for children in the future, but not right now. Suddenly, he would be angry. She immediately told Max. He jumped and cheered like a baby. He wanted a baby. He kissed and hugged Kelly, and he spun her around the room. It seemed to the girl that this was her happiness as a woman. From her heart was relieved. Her heart felt light and peaceful. She loved and was loved. Soon their child would be born, and they would live happily ever after. Kelly was so excited, she even called her mother to share the news. Mom, can you imagine? I'm pregnant. You're going to be a grandmother soon. Max and I applied to the registry office. It was so sudden. I'm shocked myself. You're happy for me. But Wendy immediately put her daughter on the spot. I don't know what you're so stupid to be happy about. She found some penniless builder, and she's also pregnant. What a joy. Do you have any idea how much trouble a baby is? How much money does it take? You're still so young. You haven't even seen life, and you're already in diapers. What's the rush? You should look up to your older sister, Cindy. She's found a rich man. She's got him all to herself and doesn't have to work. He gets her money that way. Oh, you. Kelly's mood just went out of whack. How could it be? Instead of support, it's just more injections. Nothing changes. And she answered quietly, Mom, thank you for your support. Goodbye. And she hung up, and then she cried bitterly. She was so hurt that her mother didn't love her at all. And Cindy didn't call to visit or come and ask how you were. And how many times had she called her? Nobody cared. Everything had gone wrong that morning. Kelly was nauseous, no mood. She had no energy to go to work. And suddenly, out of the blue, a big mirror on the wall collapsed, smashing it to pieces. A bad omen, thought Kelly. Picking up the pieces, she took longer than usual to see Mac off to work. For some reason, intuitively hugged him tightly and told her beloved, take care. Please, be careful. I love you so much from the mirror. This is as if something had not happened. Something worries me. Max smiled carefree and kissed his bride. But the bunny hasn't gotten himself all worked up since this morning. Everything will be fine. Is it the pregnancy affecting you? You're getting hypersensitive. I'll see you tonight. I got to run. It was their last meeting. Max never showed up tonight. Kelly sobbed all night, cutting off the phone, calling morgues and hospitals. Finally, she got a call from Max's work, telling her the terrible news. Her fiancé had died, had fallen from a height. Instant death. Something Long explained to her that it was his own fault. I ignored the safety rules. I sympathized with her, but it was as if she hadn't heard anything. Everything was like a fog. What happened next, Kelly remembers very poorly. She was running around, dealing with the funeral and the wake. And when it was over, she came home, and it hit her. She suddenly realized that Max would never walk through that door again and say, "Hi, my bunny." And he wouldn't hug her tenderly. And the baby, who would he call daddy? How would she ever live without Max? Why does she have to go through all this? What sins is God punishing her for? What has she done? Kelly was howling and screaming and pounding the dishes and beating hysterically. So the neighbors ran in. They called an ambulance because Kelly suddenly grabbed her stomach. She fell to the floor, passed out from shock, and lay there in a pool of blood, as if through a thick, viscous fog. No fragments of words reached her. Kelly, wake up. Open your eyes. Can you hear me, Kelly? She opened her eyes with great difficulty, and the harsh, bright light painfully stabbed them. The woman didn't understand anything as she was born. Where is she? What was wrong with her? A hospital, a ward, some gray-haired doctor in a cap. Kelly whispered softly, "Why is she here? What is the date today? What's going on?" Mommy remembered. Max. And she wept softly and bitterly. The doctor sat down next to her in a chair. "Kelly, I, unfortunately, have more bad news for you. You had a miscarriage from the shock you went through and lost your baby. You couldn't be helped. It was too late. You were brought in with severe bleeding. We could barely save you. You didn't regain consciousness for 2 days anyway. You scared the hell out of us. It's the first time I've seen that in my practice, to be honest. But don't despair. We've been treating you for a couple of weeks. We'll clear the inflammation and feed you some sedatives and get you discharged. Do you need to come to your senses for a while? Hang in there. Keep up the good work." Kelly didn't say anything back. Silently, she turned to the wall and burst into tears. Her hands were empty, and she had no desire to live. And for whom and what was there to live for? Her baby was gone. Max had taken him with him to heaven, leaving her all alone in this world. How terrible it is when no one needs you alone, like a grain of sand in a stormy ocean. Her mother, upon learning of what had happened, surprisingly came to check on Kelly at the hospital, began to territory without a word and comfort her. But don't worry. So Kelly, I know it's a terrible thing to go through. Is it a joke to lose your fiancé and your child all at once? Please come home. What are you going to do in New York all alone? David and I would be very glad to have you. And Cindy isn't. She's off to the spa with her fiancé. The mere mention of Kelly's future made me shudder. He'd been on her before, and now he was going to make fun of her. What's the matter, loser? She answered softly. What are you talking about? Let's be honest, Mama. Your Uncle David. I was bullied and hated all my childhood. And you're telling me we're going to be very happy. I'm not a little kid to believe that. No, Mom, I'm not going back. Please go to my house and get my papers and some of my things. I'll write down the address. And where can I find my keys? Wendy brought her daughter's things and went home in secret, glad that Kelly's pregnancy was off. She wasn't going to be pulling on her grandson and fiddling with the tapes at all. Why would she go to all that trouble? And so everything worked itself out. But the fact that her daughter refused to come back made her very upset. After all, David had recently been fired for systematic drunkenness from his position, and now they clearly lacked money for the wildlife. Wendy realized that Kelly was as hardworking as a bee and counted on her to find work at home and support them all. But it didn't work out. 2 weeks later, Kelly was discharged. When she arrived in her room, the first thing she wanted to do was to hug her Barbie doll, to tell her everything, to cry. It always calmed her in times of crisis, but she wasn't there. The girl survived everything. The toy was nowhere to be found. It couldn't be. Could it be that her mother had taken it? Why would she? Unless Cindy asked her to do it to spite her. She couldn't take it when she was a child, so she's a mile away now. God, what kind of people are they? They took away the only thing dear to her heart. And Kelly wept bitterly in hopelessness and sadness. And once again, her beloved teacher, Kevin, helped her with kind advice. Learning of the tragedy of his student, he called the girl and talked to her for a long time. Listened carefully to everything and said the decisive phrase, "You know what, Kelly? You can't change what happened. You can't build on what we had. You have my sincere and human sympathy. Come on, pull yourself together and start your life over from scratch." How old are you? You're only 20 years old. You're an excellent student, smart girl. You couldn't build a family. What do you mean? You didn't start out right? Try again. Go to university. The entrance exams are coming up in a month. Maybe you'll get lucky, get a good education, get a decent job. With your brains, you can't spend your life in cafes. You can't spend your life carrying trays. In the meantime, pain, loss, stupidity, and life will get better. Time heals. I know it does. Go for it, Kelly. I still believe in you. Kelly once again sincerely thanked her teacher for her participation and advice, and wondered why she had not even tried to enroll anywhere. She listened to the teacher's advice, and without much hope. Still, she applied to 3 universities, passed her exams, and still got a scholarship to one of them. A new life as a student began which she had never known before. She continued to work night shifts and weekends in a cafe, and at the same time she studied. It was very hard both mentally and physically. She was exhausted from exhaustion, but she had no time to drink and cry. She became the head of the group and graduated from the university with flying colors. After receiving the coveted diploma, our heroine first called Kevin, not her mother or sister, and almost shouted into the tube, "Kevin, honey, congratulate me. I got a degree. It's with your easy hand. I did it. Thank you." The wise teacher replied, "You're a good girl. I'm happy for you. But I had nothing to do with it. You were able to stand up on your own, to achieve everything. Way to go, Kelly. I'm proud of you. Trust me, you'll be fine. We'll celebrate at the wedding. In the meantime, stick to the plan. Get a job." All this time, Kelly did not think about a personal life. All pined for Maha. Although many classmates, bred and pretty girls on Kelly after all they had gone through just seemed silly empty ends, it was like she was a lifetime older than them. After graduation, she managed to get a job at a small firm as an economist. Pretty quickly, Kelly settled in. The work routine flowed. The girl often stayed after work, took reports home, and she was soon respected even by the old-timers. Rarely now would you meet such a serious, responsible young woman. Their firm was supervised by a large corporation, and one day its owner, William, came personally to the Saudis to help him. It was Kelly who was introduced as a responsible and valuable employee. The girl was worried at first. When she saw this chic, respectable millionaire, dressed to the nines, especially as he was so shrewd, he looked at her almost without taking his eyes off her. When the businessman saw this beautiful girl with huge, sad eyes, he fell in love with her immediately. And after working with her, the man realized that she is also a smart girl. What little? He began to show signs of attention, to give posh bouquets. William, for a long time, could not arrange his personal life. Money is not pecked at. Girls of all stripes are hanging around his neck. But after a month at most, the businessman was bored to a toothache. Just another beautiful empty head, standing endlessly in boutiques and outfits, and who hadn't read a single book in their lives. And Kelly was very different, as if not of this era. She loved Dostoevsky and Tart, did excellent bookkeeping, easily renamed his multi-digit number was beyond her years reasonable, calm and perfectly even-keeled William Millionaire, on the contrary, shunned him and did not try to offer himself. Kelly at first was very afraid to start a relationship. She thought she was betraying Max's memory. But William was so delicate, gentle, and cautious that he managed to win Kelly's attention and love by bits and pieces. The man was discovering for her a whole other world, a new, hitherto unknown to her New York. They went to exhibitions in art galleries, museums, walked around the area, admiring the beauty of the old streets. Kelly listened with open mouth to the interesting history of the capital. William was a great conversationalist. He made her feel as safe and secure as if she were behind a stone wall. He taught Kelly literally everything: how to dress tastefully, know how to behave in society, eat oysters and lobsters, to be a lady. 7 years passed, and Kelly literally blossomed. She now worked for her husband's corporation and lived in a huge country mansion. A stylishly dressed, needle-softly beautiful woman, sure heels on the parquet floor. Nothing resembled Kelly, the waitress. During this time, Kelly's mother died after another binge, and her stepfather refused to even bury her. The money was spared, and William took care of the wake without a word of reproach. Kelly had a strange feeling at the funeral. She looked at this not yet an old woman lying in her coffin who had given birth to her. And I kept thinking, did her mother love her even a little? Why had she always been so dry and callous to Kelly? Why had she traded her daughters for some roommate? Endured all his taunts. Never once was she sincerely happy about her daughter's successes. No praise, no encouragement. The answers to all these questions she, alas, could not find. But whatever the case, her mother was her mother. She had given her life. And Kelly still loved her in her own way and mourned her. And she couldn't help giving her a dignified last visit. Her stepfather, on the other hand, was a drunken and deranged man. Windy Cindy is lost somewhere in a vast country, changing one, leaving for another. The sisters have completely lost touch with each other. Our heroine's present life was like a fairy tale. Only one thing saddened Kelly. She could not get pregnant. Apparently, the miscarriage had its effect. William spared no expense to have her examined. Kelly visited the best medical experts, tried a bunch of newfangled treatment regimens, went to resorts, and all to no avail. The long-awaited pregnancy never came. William, however, never reproached her for it. On the contrary, always consoled, not to grieve, my little bird child is a gift from God. He will come to our family, all in good time. But even if it doesn't happen, I will always love you and will never betray you. You are the dearest thing I have. Just so you know, Kelly clings gratefully to her husband. She and William are incredibly lucky. Still, how desperately she wanted to be a mommy. When she saw women carrying a baby stroller or leading a baby by the hand, her heart ached and clenched. Was she not destined to experience this? She and William had even gotten a funny little Koki dog. But none of that was the same. One day, Kelly ran out of work on her coffee break. There was a great coffee shop nearby. She was just crossing the road at an intersection when she saw a strange picture. A grimy 7-year-old girl was running right under the wheels of cars at a red light. She was holding a doll in her arms. Realizing that an irreparable tragedy was about to happen, Kelly literally ducked under the wheels of the coming truck and managed to pull the child away from her breathing. And having recovered from the shock, Kelly asked the frightened baby, "Why are you walking alone? Where are your parents? Is it okay to cross the road at a red light? You could have been killed, couldn't you? My name is Jenna. I have no parents. I am an orphan. I ran away the day before yesterday. The older girls there beat me badly and make me serve them, and I don't want to." And the child suddenly cried. So sincerely and bitterly, Kelly hugged her to herself in an outburst of pity. And suddenly, pressing the doll casually, she heard the very same Japanese song from her childhood. Kelly, stunned, unfolded the toy to her and just stunned. It was her Barbie, the one she hadn't parted with since childhood. There could be no mistake. Kelly tearfully asked the girl, "Jenna, where did you get that doll? Tell me. It's very important for me to know." The girl told me. "When I was dropped off at the orphanage as a little girl, this doll was with me. I never give it to anyone, but it's old and dirty and no one will take it away. Do you like her too? I call her Lola." Kelly sobbed. "No, her name is Barbie. It's my doll from my childhood. My dad brought her back from a business trip a long time ago. You know what, Jenna? At my house. My name is Kelly, and my husband's name is William, and we have a Koki dog. Would you like her? You can stay with us for a while, and then we'll figure something out." The girl gladly said yes. "Let's go. I love dogs and cats. You won't give me back to the orphanage. I don't want to go there." Kelly held the little girl closer to her. "I promise I won't. Come on, don't be afraid. We won't hurt you." Kelly called work. She asked for it, and she and Jenna drove home. On the way, the woman stopped at a children's world and bought the baby beautiful new things, toys and sweets. Jenna was taken aback by the huge, luxurious mansion. The first thing Kelly did was to fill a bathtub full of fragrant scented bubble bath and scrub the fuzzy baby, and only now combed out her clean blonde hair. Kelly suddenly realized how much Jenna resembled her sister Cindy. The same brow span, dimpled cheeks, and green eyes flashed in her head. What if it is Cindy's child? Was her sister such a trash that she abandoned her own daughter in an orphanage? How is that possible? We need to find out. Kelly had fed the poor girl a delicious lunch and was exhausted. Now she was hugging a beautiful new Barbie doll, and Kelly took Barbie in her arms. The doll even winked at her with a dirty, time-worn eye. Her dress faded. It was all stained. Her hair was tangled and turned gray from dust instead of blonde, as if it were gray. And still native to this doll, there was no toy for Kelly. Tears flowed in hail from her eyes, and she whispered to the doll, "Well, hello, my friend. Still found a hostess. I'm very glad." In the evening, William came home from work and was stunned to see an adorable little girl playing on the carpet in the bedroom. She looked up at him with childlike directness, not the least bit embarrassed, and said with a smile, "Hi, your name is Uncle William. My Aunt Kelly told me about you, that you are the best. Jenna, while I will live with you, you will not drive me away." William laughed, didn't know what to answer, and turned the conversation to another topic. He helped the little girl put the soft big puzzles together. Kelly whispered to him, "I'll explain everything to you later. When girl goes to sleep, okay, you're not offended that I didn't warn you. It's just all of a sudden. I'm still in shock myself. Then the three of them had dinner and watched a children's movie. They all played with the Cokie dog and read the little girl the story of the princess. The happy little girl was stunned by so many gifts and attention to herself and barely fell asleep. And Kelly and William went into the kitchen to talk. The wife emotionally told him everything, clutching to herself the very Barbie doll. She pleaded, "There she is, my Barbie, that very doll from my childhood. That's for sure. I know. You know, where did Jenna get it? She says from this doll she had already been dropped off at the orphanage. The only person who could have had the doll was my sister Cindy. So that makes Jenna her daughter and my own niece." You know, I'm shocked. It's fantastic to run into your own niece on the street like that. It's unbelievable. But then again, Jenna could have given it to her mother, given her as a gift. Things happen. How am I supposed to find out? Help me, Jenna, please. Let's not put Jenna in an orphanage just yet. You want me to get down on my knees. I can feel it in my heart, and she's no stranger to me. I've had a crush on her since the first time I saw her. Even if it turns out she's not my niece, let's adopt her. I've wanted to be a mother for so long, and now fate has sent us this little girl. William hugged Kelly, held her close to him. "Sweetheart, I beg you, calm down. What do you think I am? A barbarian? Or a soulless chump? I like this little girl very much too. I feel like she's always lived with us. I really enjoyed tonight. You're right. With a baby, the family is complete. Let's do this. First, we'll run a genetic test and find out for sure if it's your sister's daughter or not. And then we'll go to the orphanage. I'll hire the best lawyer, and he'll help us find out everything about Sasha's parents and get the adoption process started. And he'll also make sure that the girl stays with us officially the whole time. In the meantime, you take a month off, and I'll sign it. Devote yourself to the baby. I can see the light in your eyes, and I want you to be the happiest you can be." Kelly hugged her husband tightly and, sobbing, began to kiss him frantically. "You are the best husband in the world, and the most worthy man. I love you so much and am eternally grateful that you understand me. You feel my soul. Thank you, William, honey." Kelly's genetic test results were very encouraging and staggering. Jenna really is her niece's kin. But then where is Cindy? What happened to her? Why did she decide to give her own daughter to an orphanage? Could she be in trouble and need help? Kelly scolded herself with the last words, "What kind of sister am I? Cindy may not be perfect. Hurt her by not calling her. And what better way than to dwell on my childish insults? You could have found out for yourself how a family member is doing, at least once in a while, to ask how her life is going. So much for being a touchy princess." She and William learned at the orphanage that nothing was known about the fate of Sasha's mother, who she was, and what happened to her. The girl had just been dropped off at night at the gates of the orphanage when she was 2 years old. All she had with her was this doll and a note. The child's name is Jenna. She's 2 years old. I'm a bad mother, and I don't know who her father is. She'll be better off here. Kelly is desperate. Where would she look for Cindy? It's a dead end. Her late mother didn't even know much about her when she was alive. Cindy was so wandering through towns and cities, changing residence. Kelly had called all her former friends and acquaintances to the dogs, but no one knew anything about her sister's fate. But William hired a private detective, and he found the traces of her by bits and pieces. It turns out that Cindy all these years led a very riotous and immoral way of life, dropping ever lower to the bottom. And for the past 3 months, she'd been in a hospice for cancer patients. When she got Kelly's address, she rushed there. She prayed the whole way. She just wanted to be there in time. Let her live to see her, talk to her, beg her forgiveness, to look into her own eyes, to hug her little sister, to help her. But the head physician was very upset with Kelly. Her sister passed away here a month ago, to a terrible diagnosis. It was her lifestyle and bad habits that led her. The doctor said that Cindy was unable to give them up, even in death, and demanded a single cigarette and a shot of liquor. The chief physician gave Kelly her sister's personal belongings and her wedding cross, the same one her father had given her when she was a child. It had the words, "Save and preserve." Kelly couldn't hold back the tears. They rolled down her cheeks. The wrinkled old lady next door also told me that Cindy often remembered her sister and lamented that they didn't communicate. I regret that I turned out to be a cuckoo and lived my life so mediocrely. They also found this shabby notebook under her pillow. The old lady herself didn't know why she pocketed it. Just in case. Kelly found out where her sister's remains were and decided to give her a proper funeral, a proper wake, and put a monument on her grave. It is not good to have a native person lying among the nameless and forgotten with a skewed wooden plaque. Already at home, when Jenna sat down to draw, Kelly opened Cindy's notebook with trembling hands. It was a sort of mini diary where her sister had written down some of her thoughts and feelings. Kelly read feverishly, "I hate myself. I'm a bad girl, not a mother. How was my Jenna? Why did I do this? I thought it would at least work out with Zach. I mean, he promised me if I got rid of someone else's baby, he'd marry me. Turns out he's just another jerk. He dumped me and found himself a younger girl. So I was left with a broken home." Kelly was shocked. 6 months ago. Oh God, my stomach hurts so bad it burns. When I'm gone, I'm done for. It's my payback for leaving my daughter. I lie in this rotten room, abandoned, unneeded. How Jenna must hate me. What have I done? I hated my sister when she was a child. She listened to her mother and thought the most important thing was to find a richer fiancé. How many times she invited Kelly to visit, but I didn't go. And when she was in bad shape, instead of coming to support her, I stole her favorite doll to make her feel better. I always invite her. She's smart. Not like me, Kelly would never forgive me. That's for sure. My daughter, too. About my life in bunks of men, I drank my health away. I didn't appreciate my loved ones. I'm an idiot. No tears even. I just don't want to live and open my eyes and see that old woman in my room. Kelly sobbed and reread the diary over and over again, realizing that she, too, was wrong in many ways. She should have taken an interest in her sister's life, not to let her disappear, at least to try to get him out of the abyss of his binge life. Didn't she even know that Cindy had given birth to a daughter? So much for native blood. A frightened Jenna ran to Kelly and asked why you were crying. Did someone hurt you? I am scared. The girl put her arms around the baby and held her close to her. Do not be afraid, kitten. It's just that today I learned a lot of important news, good and bad. It turns out that your mother Cindy is my own sister, and you're not a stranger to me at all. You're my own niece. That's true. I thought I could talk to your mom, but I found out she died. And that makes me very bitter and sad. That's why I'm crying. It turns out, Jenna, your mom isn't bad at all. It's just that she was seriously and long ill and had to put you in an orphanage. So you forgive her and don't hold a grudge. Okay, Kelly showed the girl the cross, or is it your mom's cross? A remembrance of her. Let me put it on for you. Wear it for the rest of your life. Let it remind you of her. All right, the girl nodded, and Kelly impoverished herself even tighter. Now you're going to be my mother. You're not going to answer, are you? You won't throw me back into the orphanage. I'm going to be a good girl. Honestly, just don't leave me, please. Kelly couldn't hold back any longer. Tears streamed from her eyes. She whispered, Baby Jenna, I'm not giving you up to anyone. I understand. Don't even think about it anymore. William and I are your parents now. But don't forget Mommy, though. I'll show you her pictures. Let's go to her grave. But everything is wiped up. Everyone washes up. Daddy will be home soon, and you and I don't have dinner ready. You'll have to help me. And so, with 4 hands, they went about their business. They baked a cabbage pie and roasted it. They were licking William from the doorstep, and the smell was amazing. Jenna was the first to rush out into the hallway and threw herself at the man's neck. Yay, Daddy's home. And we made these goats for my mom and me. You're gonna love it." I helped. That word made Daddy. William felt so warm inside, and he began to kiss the little cheeks and whisper, "Hello, my little girl. Good girl. I will definitely try everything." Kelly came out next and cuddled tenderly with her husband. "Hi, sweetheart. How tired are you? I missed you, didn't I?" My hands to the table. "We have everything ready." William kissed his wife tenderly and thought to himself, what happiness it is to have a family to be waited on, loved, worried, and missed. It's amazing how this baby girl has brought them even more together, made the family complete and strong. Kelly tracked down Cindy's grave. It was horrible. The sister repented. Among unknown vagrants and the homeless, only a wooden plaque with a name and date of birth and death. The woman fell straight to the damp ground and began to sob. "Cindy, my darlings, my little sister, I'm so sorry for everything. I'm sorry for my foolish, childish pride and resentment, and I completely abandoned you. Life has scattered us across the cities, and the ties of kinship have been broken. It shouldn't be like this. But why did you leave so early? How could it be? It's unfair and terrible. Don't you worry. Jenna found me on her own. I believe it. It's a Barbie doll. She was brought to me because she's been my mascot since I was a little girl. Thank you for leaving the doll with Jenna. It was when I saw her in the hands of a strange little girl, my heart sank. Jenna is now my daughter. William and I love her very much. Take care of her, and we'll never hurt her. We'll grow up well. So may the earth rest in your soul. Rest in peace. I take care of my daughter. It's my duty as an Istrian." Kelly ordered a prayer service, sent a memorial service, and placed a nice monument on her sister's grave. They, Jenna, and would come here and sit on the bench. And Kelly would tell the girl how wonderful her mother was, so that the child would not be left with the bitterness of being abandoned by her own mother because she was a good-for-nothing and a good-for-nothing. 6 months later, Jenna was adopted by papers. William officially gave her his last name. The girl proved to be bright and talented. Went to first grade. She studied well. And it was there that the singing teacher advised Kelly to send her child to music school. He was the first to see her potential. Jenna really did sing beautifully and had a great ear. She got that from Cindy. She loved to sing when she was a little girl, but their mother didn't have time to take care of the kids. Finally, Kelly was totally happy because she was a mommy. She got up at 5 a.m. to have time to do everything. Woke up her little girl, forbade her pigtails, fed her breakfast, took her to school, did homework with her, listened to all the children's joys and sorrows, and got such a high from it. She saw that William also genuinely loved Jenna, protecting her proudly, telling everyone she was my daughter Jenna. An old Barbie doll held a place of honor in the family. Restored and smiling, she sat on the dresser in the hallway and greeted the housemates. Kelly truly believed that it was her late daddy's gift that got her out of all the trouble, and she considered Barbie not only her own, but her daughter's as well. And another year later, their family was bigger. Kelly finally got pregnant and gave birth to a wonderful baby boy. He was named Kevin. For such a happiness Kelly had not even hoped for. William shone like a peeled samovar when he was handed a blue envelope on the doorstep of the hospital with his son and Jenna. "Hello, little brother. Oh, what a funny wrinkle, like an old grandfather. Now you can really play at being a mother's daughter, not pretend. Mom, will you let me ride him in the stroller?" Kelly hugged her daughter. "Of course I can. We will do everything together, and we will bathe and walk with Kevin. One thing I ask of you, my good one, whatever happens in your life, always be together with your brother. Take care of each other and love each other. And don't repeat my mistakes alone. The hurts will pass and be forgotten, but it will be hard to get the man back." William hugged his wife and added, "Mom is right. She's so wise. So, families, let's go home and celebrate the birth of our son. I bought a huge cake and pizza. Who's with me?" Everyone laughed merrily and got in the car. On the way, Jenna kept looking in the envelope, and the baby doll was carefully correcting the covers. And Kelly and William were perfectly happy.